Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty and watched the stars shift on the main screen. The ship moved through space at speeds that would have amazed his grandfather. But today Jake felt nothing but cold worry in his stomach. The bridge crew worked quietly around him, their faces tense with the same fear he tried to hide. "Captain, we are approaching the neutral zone," said Lisa Barnes from her communication station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the strain. Underneath, Lisa had been with him for 3 years, and she never showed fear unless things were really bad. "Any word from the other ships?" Jake asked. "The diplomatic convoy is maintaining formation, sir. Ambassador Carter sends her regards and says the peace talks should begin in 6 hours. Jake nodded, but something felt wrong about this whole mission. 3 weeks ago, the Galactic Council had sent an urgent message to Earth. They wanted to discuss human expansion into their territory. They called it a diplomatic summit, but Jake had seen enough battles to know when someone was setting a trap. "Danny, how are our engines running?" Jake called to his chief engineer. Danny Rodriguez looked up from his console with grease on his hands and worry in his eyes. "Running smooth, Captain, but I have been picking up some strange readings. There are a lot of ships out there, and most of them are not showing up on our regular sensors." "What kind of ships?" "Big ones, sir. The kind that carry weapons designed to crack planets." Jake felt his jaw tighten. He had suspected this was not a real peace meeting, but hearing it confirmed made his blood run cold. The Liberty was humanity's most advanced warship, but even she could not fight an entire fleet. "Lisa, patch me through to Ambassador Carter," Jake said. The main screen flickered and showed a woman in her 50s with gray hair and intelligent eyes. Helen Carter had been humanity's chief diplomat for 10 years, and Jake trusted her judgment more than most politicians. "Captain Morrison, I trust everything is proceeding smoothly?" she asked. "Ma'am, we need to talk privately. Danny is showing massive energy signatures all around our position. This does not look like a diplomatic meeting." Helen's face grew serious. "I had the same concerns, Captain. My intelligence sources have been very quiet lately. Too quiet." "What do you want me to do?" "Maintain course for now. If this is a trap, running will only make things worse. But Jake, keep your weapons ready." The connection ended, and Jake turned back to his crew. "All hands, this is the captain. We are going to battle stations, but I want everyone to stay calm. We might be walking into something, but we are going to handle it like professionals." The bridge lights shifted to red, and Jake could hear the sounds of his crew preparing for combat throughout the ship. Weapons came online, shields powered up, and every system ran diagnostics to make sure they were ready for whatever came next. "Captain," Lisa called out, "I am getting multiple transmissions on encrypted channels. At least 12 different languages, and they are all pointed at our position. Can you decode any of it?" "Working on it, sir, but this looks like military coordination traffic." Jake felt his heart sink. 12 different alien languages meant 12 different species. And if they were all talking to each other about human positions, this was definitely not a peace conference. "Contact from the lead alien vessel," Lisa announced. "Put it on screen." The main display showed a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and a spider. Its name was Supreme Commander Vextal, and Jake had seen his file many times. The Zephyrian Empire had been watching human expansion for years with growing concern. "Captain Morrison of the human vessel," Vextal spoke in perfect English. "You will proceed to the coordinates we are transmitting. Any deviation from this course will be considered an act of war." "This is supposed to be a diplomatic meeting," Jake replied. "Indeed it is. We are here to discuss the future of humanity in this galaxy." Something in the alien's tone made Jake's skin crawl. He had heard that same tone from enemies before, right before they tried to kill him. "Jake," Helen's voice came through his private channel. I just received a message from the Coalition fleet. They are demanding we surrender all human colonies for what they call processing. This is not a negotiation. It is an ultimatum. Jake closed his eyes for a moment and felt the weight of his entire species on his shoulders. Every human in space, every colony world, every family back on Earth, all depending on what he did next. All human vessels, Vextall continued, you have 1 hour to make your decision. Submit to galactic authority or face the consequences. Your species has been deemed too dangerous to exist alongside civilized worlds. The transmission ended, and Jake looked around his bridge. Lisa was pale but determined. Danny was running final checks on their weapons. The rest of his crew waited for orders that could save humanity or doom them all. Captain, Lisa said quietly, I am picking up energy signatures from Earth's solar system. They have ships there too. Jake felt something. Cold settle in his chest. This was not just about him or the Liberty. The aliens had surrounded Earth itself. They had played this perfectly, getting humanity's best diplomats and military leaders far from home while they moved their fleets into position. But as Jake looked at the tactical display showing enemy ships in every direction, something strange happened. Instead of fear or desperation, he felt a calm certainty settle over him. These aliens thought they knew humans. They thought they understood how humanity would react to being trapped. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Jake Morrison had spent his entire career preparing for the day when humanity would face extinction. Every battle, every strategy session, every quiet conversation with other military leaders had been building toward this moment. The aliens had made one critical mistake in their perfect plan. They had assumed humans would react like every other species in the galaxy when faced with impossible odds. They expected panic, surrender, or a desperate last stand that would justify their extermination of humanity. Instead, Captain Jake Morrison smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the expression of a predator who had just realized his prey had walked into a trap of their own making. Around the bridge, his crew saw that smile and felt their fear transform into something much more dangerous. The aliens had spent months planning this moment, but humans had spent decades preparing for it. Supreme Commander Vextall watched the human ships on his display and felt satisfied with his perfect trap. 12 species had worked together for months to plan this moment. Every human military vessel was accounted for. Every diplomatic ship was surrounded, and their home world was blockaded by enough firepower to glass entire continents. Commander, his intelligence officer hissed, we are intercepting human military communications. Excellent. Let me hear their panic and desperation. But what Vextall heard instead made his scaled skin crawl with unease. The human transmissions were not filled with fear or confusion. They were calm, organized, and following what sounded like predetermined protocols. All colonial administrators implement Protocol 7 immediately, came a voice from Earth. Dr. Rachel Green speaking. Authorization code Terran Alpha 77. This is not a drill. Vextall's compound eyes narrowed. What is Protocol 7? His intelligence staff worked frantically, but found nothing in their files about any human protocol with that designation. They had been watching human communications for years and had never heard of it. Commander, we are detecting massive energy spikes from 47 different human settlements, reported his sensor operator. What kind of energy spikes? Industrial, sir? It looks like they are converting their entire colonial infrastructure to military production. Vextall felt a chill run down his spine. The humans were not panicking. They were not surrendering. They were not even trying to fight their way out of the trap. Instead, they seemed to be following a plan that his intelligence services had never discovered. On a mining world called New Colorado, Administrator Bill Watson received the Protocol 7 signal and immediately activated systems that had been hidden for 15 years. The mining equipment shut down, and different machines emerged from underground storage. Within hours, the colony that had been digging for rare metals was instead producing weapons that could punch through alien armor like paper. Bill had spent years playing the role of a simple mining boss, but his real job had been much more complicated. Every human settlement in space had been designed with a secret purpose. They were not just colonies or research stations or trading posts. They were pieces of the largest military preparation in human history. Sarah, activate the fabricators. Bill called to his assistant Sarah Miller, who was already powering up equipment that officially did not exist. Already on it, Bill. The nanite factories are coming online and the weapon systems are deploying. Just like we practiced. They had practiced for this moment dozens of times over the years, always calling it emergency drills or equipment maintenance. But every person in the human colonies knew what Protocol 7 really meant. It meant the galaxy had finally decided to eliminate humanity, and it was time to show them why that was a mistake. On the agricultural world of New Eden, farming coordinator Jenny Adams watched her crops die as hidden machines rose from beneath the fields. For 10 years, she had grown food to feed human colonies, but the real purpose of New Eden had been to develop biological weapons that could target specific alien species. This is New Eden to all stations, Jenny broadcast. Biological countermeasures are ready for deployment. Targeting data for all known hostile species is uploaded and ready. The aliens monitoring human communications heard these transmissions and began to realize that their intelligence had been catastrophically wrong. They had thought they understood human colonial expansion. They believed humans were simply spreading out to find resources and living space like every other species in the galaxy. Instead, humanity had been playing a game that lasted decades. Every seemingly innocent human activity had been part of a larger defensive strategy. Every research expedition had been gathering intelligence on potential enemies. Every trade mission had been mapping alien weaknesses. Every colonial settlement had been positioning military assets disguised as civilian infrastructure. Dr. Rachel Green sat in her office on Earth and coordinated the activation of humanity's real defense network. She had spent 20 years as director of human colonial development, and in that time she had overseen the construction of the most sophisticated military system ever created. Status report from all sectors, she requested. Sector 7 reports full activation, came a voice from the outer colonies. Hidden defense platforms are online and targeting solutions are locked. Sector 12 here. Our research stations have activated experimental weapons. We are ready to begin field testing on hostile targets. Sector 4 standing by. Our trading posts have revealed their true nature and are coordinating with local defense networks. Rachel smiled as she listened to the reports. The aliens had made the classic mistake of believing what they saw on the surface. They thought humans were chaotic and disorganized because that was what humans wanted them to think. Supreme Commander Vextol watched his perfect trap become a nightmare as human settlements across the galaxy revealed capabilities that should not have existed. Mining colonies were launching warships. Agricultural worlds were deploying biological weapons. Research stations were activating technologies that violated several galactic treaties. How did we miss this? He demanded of his intelligence chief. Sir, our analysis shows that humans have been using their reputation for unpredictability as camouflage. Every random human action was actually part of a coordinated plan that we never detected. That is impossible. No species could coordinate something this complex without us noticing. But the evidence was filling his tactical displays. Human vessels were emerging from asteroid fields where no colonies were supposed to exist. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as communication satellites were powering up throughout human space. Every piece of human civilian infrastructure was transforming into military assets. The aliens had spent months planning their trap, but humans had spent decades preparing for it. Every human in space had been trained not just as colonists or researchers, but as potential military assets ready to activate when their species was threatened. Captain Jake Morrison's smile had been the signal that started a cascade of events, planned 50 years in advance. The moment he smiled, every human in the galaxy knew that their real purpose was about to be revealed. The alien coalition realized with growing horror that they had not trapped humanity at all. Instead, they had triggered the activation of a defense network so sophisticated that it had remained completely hidden while operating in plain sight for generations. The hunt for humanity was about to become something entirely different. The alien coalition watched in growing disbelief as humanity's response defied every principle of military strategy they understood. Instead of forming defensive lines or attempting to negotiate their way out of the trap, humans began attacking. Everywhere at once, with what appeared to be complete chaos and no coordination. Commander Steve Walsh had been running a small fleet of cargo haulers and mining vessels in the Outer Rim territories for 8 years. To any observer, he was exactly what he appeared to be, a rough freight captain who moved supplies between human colonies and occasionally complained about alien trade regulations. But when Protocol 7 activated, Steve's ships revealed their true nature. The cargo holds that had carried grain and medical supplies for years opened to reveal experimental weapons that had been developed in secret research facilities throughout human space. All right, boys, time to show these lizards what human freight haulers really carry, Steve announced to his crews as his converted fleet moved toward a major Korath supply depot. The Korath defenders prepared to crush what they assumed was a desperate human suicide attack. Civilian vessels attacking a military installation made no strategic sense, and they expected to destroy the pathetic human fleet within minutes. Instead, Steve's garbage haulers and ore processors unleashed weapons that punched through Korath. Shields like they were made of paper. The mining lasers that had been cutting asteroids for years were actually focused particle beam weapons designed specifically to penetrate Korath defensive technology. Target their supply ships first, Steve ordered as his fleet tore through the depot's defenses. We want to cripple their logistics, not just blow things up. The attack was not random destruction, but a precisely calculated strike designed to collapse the Korath supply network throughout this entire sector of space. Steve's crews had been studying Korath military procedures for years while pretending to deliver cargo to their colonies. Meanwhile, on the border world of Kythera Prime, Dr. Patricia Johnson was having tea with her Zephyrian neighbors, just as she had done every week for 15 years. Patricia was known throughout the colony as a quiet xenobiologist who studied alien plant life and wrote boring research papers that nobody read. But Patricia's real research had been much more interesting. She had spent 15 years mapping Zephyrian neural patterns and psychological responses, while living among them as a harmless human scientist. When her communication device chirped with the Protocol 7 signal, Patricia excused herself from tea and walked to her laboratory. She activated equipment that had been disguised as biological research tools and began broadcasting on frequencies that induced mass panic in Zephyrian brain structures. This is Patricia to all stations. She transmitted on a secure human channel. Zephyrian psychological warfare protocols are now active. Their command structure should collapse within 6 hours. Across Zephyrian space, military commanders began experiencing overwhelming fear and confusion as Patricia's broadcasts triggered artificial panic responses in their nervous systems. 15 years of patient anthropological research had given her the keys to their entire species' psychological vulnerabilities. The Zephyrian fleet that had been confident in their superior numbers suddenly found their officers unable to make coherent decisions as artificial terror flooded their minds. Captain. Jake Morrison watched the tactical displays on his bridge and felt satisfied with how the plan was unfolding. His crew looked amazed as reports flooded in from across human space, but Jake had been expecting exactly this response. "Lisa, patch me through to all human vessels," he ordered. "You are on, Captain. This is Captain Morrison to all human forces. Phase 1 is proceeding as planned. Remember, we are not trying to conquer anyone. We are demonstrating why attacking humanity is a mistake that nobody should make twice." Amy Foster, his tactical officer, looked up from her console with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, the Korath supply network is collapsing, exactly as Steve's team predicted. Their fleet will be out of fuel and ammunition within days. What about the Zephyrian response?" "Patricia's psychological attack is working better than expected. Half their commanders are requesting medical evacuation for panic disorders." Jake nodded. Every human in space had been studying their potential enemies for decades, not for conquest, but for survival. They had cataloged weaknesses, developed counters to alien technologies, and prepared responses to every conceivable threat. The galaxy was witnessing something that had never happened before. Humanity was fighting a war using weapons that their enemies did not even recognize as weapons. Psychology, economics, logistics, and social engineering were being deployed with the same precision that other species used missiles and energy beams. In the asteroid belt, engineer Tony Martinez activated defense platforms that had been disguised as mining operations for 20 years. The installations that had been harvesting rare metals were actually fortress systems designed to create choke points in major shipping lanes. "Defense Grid Alpha is online," Tony reported to the command network. "We have trapped 3 alien battle groups in the mineral fields, and they cannot maneuver without hitting our hidden weapon platforms." The alien fleets found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Every asteroid could be hiding weapons. Every trade route could be a trap. Every piece of human civilian infrastructure could transform into a military threat. Supreme Commander Vextal realized with growing horror that humanity's expansion into space had never been about exploration or commerce. It had been about positioning strategic assets for exactly this confrontation. Every human colony was a fortress. Every trading post was an intelligence station. Every research expedition had been gathering data for military purposes. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "human attacks are not random. They are targeting our supply lines, communication networks, and command structures with surgical precision. They know exactly where to hit us to cause maximum disruption." "How is that possible?" "Our analysis suggests that humans have been studying our military procedures for decades while pretending to be peaceful traders and researchers. The perfect trap that had taken months to plan was collapsing into complete chaos as humanity revealed that they had been preparing for this exact scenario since their first day in space." Captain Morrison's smile had triggered something that the aliens never saw coming. Not a desperate last stand, but the activation of the most sophisticated asymmetric warfare strategy ever implemented by any species in galactic history. The alien coalition's carefully planned extermination campaign collapsed into complete disorder as humanity revealed what they truly were. What the galaxy had mistaken for primitive aggression was actually a species-wide adaptation for survival. That had been 50 years in the making. Fleet Admiral Greg Turner sat in what appeared to be a simple asteroid mining station in the outer belt, but was actually the hidden command center for humanity's entire defense network. For decades, Greg had played the role of a civilian administrator, managing rock mining operations while secretly coordinating the most sophisticated military preparation in galactic history. "All stations, this is Admiral Turner broadcasting on secure channels," he announced to every human vessel and installation throughout known space. The Terran Defense Directive is now fully active. Every human citizen should remember their training and execute their assigned roles. The Terran Defense Directive had been established in secret 50 years earlier when humanity first encountered hostile alien civilizations. Every human who left Earth had been briefed on the possibility that the galaxy would eventually unite against them, and every human settlement had been designed to serve dual purposes. Captain Julie Rodriguez commanded what everyone believed was a small exploration fleet studying nebula formations in the outer rim. Her ships were painted with scientific markings and carried research equipment that had published legitimate scientific papers for 15 years. But when the directive activated, Julie's exploration vessels revealed their true capabilities. The sensor arrays that had been mapping stellar phenomena were actually military targeting systems designed to coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously. Science Team Alpha to all units, Julie transmitted. We have confirmed alien fleet positions throughout Sectors 7 through 12. Beginning hit-and-run protocols now. Her ships moved through space using the same routes they had followed during years of scientific research. But now they struck at alien command vessels with weapons that had been disguised as scientific instruments. The particle accelerators that had been studying cosmic radiation were actually precise military tools designed to disable alien communication systems. The alien fleets found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to know exactly where they would be and exactly when they would be vulnerable. Every time they tried to regroup, human forces appeared, as if from nowhere, to strike at their weakest points. Engineer Tony Martinez watched his displays from the asteroid belt fortress and coordinated attacks across dozens of star systems. The mining equipment that had been his cover for 20 years was now revealed as the command center for humanity's distributed defense network. Greg, we have successfully trapped the main Korath battle group in the Kepler system, Tony reported. They cannot retreat without running into the defense platforms we built into the asteroid mining operations. What about the Zephyrian fleet? Patricia's psychological warfare is working better than expected. Their commanders are too confused to coordinate effective attacks. Steve's logistics raids have left them without fuel for major fleet movements. Admiral. Turner smiled as he studied the tactical displays. The aliens had tried to trap humanity, but they had actually triggered the activation of a defense system that turned every human installation into a potential military asset. The galaxy watched in horror as humanity demonstrated that their expansion into space had never been random or chaotic. Every seemingly innocent human activity had been part of a larger strategy designed to ensure species survival against any possible threat. Dr. Patricia Johnson finished her work on Kethera Prime and prepared to evacuate as Zephyrian society collapsed. Around her, 15 years of patient research had given her the tools to induce panic disorders in their entire military command structure, and now their fleets were falling apart from within. This is Patricia to command, she transmitted as she boarded a ship that had been disguised as a cargo hauler for years. Zephyrian psychological vulnerabilities have been fully exploited. Their military effectiveness is reduced by approximately 70%. But Patricia's work was just one small part of humanity's larger strategy. Across the galaxy, humans who had been living peaceful lives as researchers, traders, and colonists were revealing their true purposes as military assets. Positioned for exactly this confrontation, Supreme Commander Vextau stared at his tactical displays in complete disbelief. His perfect trap had become a nightmare as humanity's true nature was revealed. Every human in space had been trained not just as a civilian, but as a potential military asset ready to activate when their species was threatened. Sir, His Intelligence. Chief reported, our analysis shows that human expansion into space was never about exploration or commerce. It was about positioning strategic assets for asymmetric warfare against any coalition that might threaten them. How did we miss something this massive? Humans use their reputation for chaos and unpredictability as camouflage, sir. Every random human action was actually part of a coordinated strategy that we never recognized because it did not follow conventional military doctrine. The alien fleets discovered that they were not fighting human military forces in any traditional sense. Instead, they faced an entire species that had been preparing for this moment since their first day in space. Every human colony was a fortress. Every trading route was a supply line. And every scientific expedition had been gathering intelligence on potential enemies. Captain Jake Morrison watched the reports flood in and felt satisfied with humanity's response. His smile had triggered a cascade of events that revealed what humans really were when their survival was threatened. Amy, what is our current tactical situation? He asked his tactical officer. Captain, human forces have successfully disrupted alien supply lines throughout 12 sectors. Enemy fleet coordination has collapsed due to communication failures and psychological warfare. Their extermination plan is falling apart. And our casualties? Minimal, sir. Human losses are less than 2% because we have been fighting this war on our terms, using our strengths rather than matching alien military doctrine. Jake nodded. The aliens had tried to hunt humanity using conventional military strategy, only to discover that humans had been hunting them first. Not for conquest, but for the knowledge needed to ensure survival against any possible threat. The moment his smile appeared had indeed caused everything to fall apart. But what fell apart was the alien coalition's certainty that they could eliminate humanity without consequences. They were learning that humans were dangerous, not because they were aggressive, but because they were thorough. The war ended not with humanity's victory over their enemies, but with the complete restructuring of how galactic civilization understood power and survival. The alien coalition surrendered not because they were defeated militarily, but because they finally comprehended what they had tried to destroy. Supreme Commander Vextal stood in his command chamber and stared at the reports from across Zephyrian space. His fleets were scattered, his supply lines were broken, and his officers were too psychologically damaged to function effectively. But the humans had not destroyed his worlds or slaughtered his people. Instead, they had simply demonstrated that resistance was futile. Commander, his communications officer called out, "We are receiving a transmission from the human flagship. Put it through." Captain Jake Morrison appeared on the main screen, no longer wearing the cold smile that had started this cascade of events. His expression was calm and professional, like a teacher addressing students who had finally learned an important lesson. "Supreme Commander Vextal," Jake said, "I believe it is time we discussed actual peace. You have defeated us, Captain Morrison. What are your terms for our surrender?" "That is where you misunderstand the situation. We never wanted to defeat you. We just wanted to make sure you could never destroy us. Now that you understand what we are capable of, perhaps we can build something better than what came before." Vextal felt confusion replace his fear. In galactic history, the victor always dictated terms to the defeated. Conquest followed victory, as surely as stars followed their orbits. But humans seem to operate by different rules entirely. I do not understand. Commander, humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We never wanted to conquer other species or destroy your civilizations. We just wanted to survive in a universe that seemed determined to eliminate us. But now that everyone understands our capabilities, we can discuss cooperation instead of extinction. Ambassador Helen Carter took over the negotiations from her position aboard the Liberty, but she spoke from a position of strength that the aliens had never suspected humans possessed. The terms she offered were not harsh because humanity did not seek revenge or dominance. "The new treaties are simple," Helen explained to the assembled alien representatives. Humanity will not interfere with your internal affairs or attempt to conquer your territories. In return, you will not attempt to eliminate or restrict human expansion. Any conflicts between our species will be resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. And if we refuse? Asked the Korath representative. Then you will discover that what you have seen so far was humanity showing restraint. We prepared for survival, not conquest, but we are capable of both. The alien leaders realized that they faced a choice between cooperation and destruction, but the humans were offering genuine partnership rather than subjugation. It was not the outcome anyone had expected when this confrontation began. Dr. Rachel Green coordinated the transition from military operations back to civilian activities across human space. The colonies that had revealed their true nature as fortress worlds began the process of returning to their cover identities, but everyone knew that the galaxy had changed forever. All stations, this is Dr. Green, she broadcast to every human. Installation. Begin Phase 2 operations. We are transitioning from defense to integration protocols. The Human Integration Initiative offered alien civilizations access to human innovation and protection in exchange for mutual non-aggression. Agreements. The galaxy discovered that humans made much better allies than enemies, primarily because human friendship came with the same level of intensity and preparation as human warfare. Captain Julie Rodriguez found herself commanding escort missions. Rather than hit-and-run attacks as former enemies requested human protection for their trade routes. The exploration vessels that had revealed themselves as military assets were now genuinely exploring the galaxy, alongside alien scientists who wanted to learn from human methods. This is strange, Julie commented to her crew as they escorted a mixed fleet of human and Zephyrian research vessels toward unexplored space beyond the galactic rim. 6 months ago, they wanted to exterminate us, and now they want to explore the universe together. Her science officer, Kevin Brown, looked up from his displays with amusement. Maybe they realized that humans are more useful as friends than as targets. Engineer Tony Martinez converted his asteroid fortress back into a mining operation, but now alien engineers worked alongside humans to develop new technologies for mutual benefit. The defensive installations remained in place, hidden but ready, as a reminder of what could happen if cooperation failed. The defense grid stays active, Tony explained to his mixed human and alien staff. But hopefully, we will never need to use it again. Admiral Greg Turner established the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force with headquarters in the asteroid belt facility that had coordinated humanity's defense. Former enemies now worked together under human leadership to resolve conflicts throughout the galaxy using diplomacy backed by the threat of human intervention. The goal is to make warfare unnecessary, Greg explained to his staff of mixed species officers. When conflicts arise, we respond with overwhelming diplomatic pressure, supported by the knowledge that humanity can make resistance very expensive. Dr. Patricia Johnson returned to her research on Cathara Prime, but now her work was openly acknowledged as psychological counseling for species recovering from the trauma of near extinction. The Zephyrians had learned to respect human capabilities, while humans learned to understand alien perspectives. We were so afraid of each other, Patricia reflected to her former neighbors who had become genuine friends. But fear made us all act like enemies when we could have been allies from the beginning. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty as it patrolled trade routes alongside vessels from species that had once tried to destroy humanity. His crew worked with alien officers who brought different perspectives and capabilities to human operations. Captain, Lisa Barnes reported from her communications station, we are receiving a request for assistance from the outer colonies. Apparently, there are unknown signals coming from beyond the galactic edge. Set course for the outer rim. Alert our alien partners that we may have discovered something interesting. Jake smiled But this time it brought comfort rather than fear to everyone who saw it. The galaxy had learned that human smiles could mean many things, but they always meant that humanity was ready for whatever came next. The moment his smile had appeared during the alien trap, everything had indeed fallen apart. But what fell apart was the old galactic order that made conflict inevitable. In its place, humanity had helped build something new, where different species worked together to explore the unknown rather than fighting over the known. Galaxy was larger than anyone had imagined, and humanity had ensured that they would explore it together.